Hi, I'm Amber,
And I'm Kirsten.
and you're listening to
Lurking in the Shadows.
Welcome to True Crime in a Dime
Where we tell you a chilling story.
in 10 minutes time.
This is our little short story series where we share 4 cases in one episode.
Yes, and this is episode 3 of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because not every case has enough info to be a 30-plus minute long episode. So we still want to give them their time to shine and share their stories too.
Yeah, and I think we have a few interesting cases today.
Mm-hmm.
Kirsten will go first.
And we have a long list of interesting ones we still got to do yet.
Heck yeah. Always will be a long list, I'm
Yeah.
sure, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, my first case is Toni Sharpless. Toni Lee Sharpless was a 29-year-old nurse and single mother who mysteriously disappeared after a night out on August 23, 2009. Toni was born on December 27, 1979 in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. Her father died in an accident when she was only 6 years old. Her mother, Donna, soon remarried a man named Peter Knabel afterwards, who raised Toni and her sister Candy as his own daughters. Toni became pregnant at the age of 17 and had a daughter of her own. Toni had some mood and behavior issues when she was younger, but wouldn't be diagnosed with bipolar disorder until early adulthood. She tried different medications to help control her symptoms, but also developed some issues with drug and alcohol use. In 2008, she was arrested and convicted of driving while intoxicated, and she spent the month of April 2009 in a rehab facility. She did eventually find a medication combination that seemed to work for her, but was contraindicated with alcohol consumption, and she did not always take them, unfortunately. She worked as a nursing assistant at a local rehab center on weekends in the early 2000s while living with her daughter and parents in West Brandywine Township. The money she earned helped pay her tuition at Brandywine School of Nursing. She earned her nursing degree in 2007 and took a job on the infection disease unit at Lancaster General Hospital, which is now 8 North. Which is just weird because I worked on that unit before. I had when I was in nursing school, I had clinical on that unit. So it's just weird. And I'll insert a picture. There's a picture of her at work, on that unit. So it's just, I don't know, kind of chilling to know that.
Yeah, you know exactly where she's standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now she's just missing. On Saturday, August 22nd, 2009, Toni left her home around 9:30 p.m. to pick up her friend named Crystal Johns to go out drinking in Center City, Philadelphia. Toni and Crystal had only recently started talking again, though, after being estranged for about a decade. In my research, I didn't find any information as to what caused their falling out or who initiated them talking again. Toni's stepdad believes the trip was Crystal's idea because Toni devoted her free time to her daughter and rarely went to nightclubs or bars or into Philadelphia at all. So he thinks she only went because Crystal persuaded her to go. But he also acknowledged that she had been working hard and deserved to have a night out. The girls left in Toni's black 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix GT to a place called Ice Nightclub in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. They drank alcohol, which Toni was not supposed to do because of the medication she was on. Later on, they went to a second nightclub called the G Lounge. There they met a man named Willie Green, who was a former professional basketball player for the Philadelphia 76ers. He invited Toni and Crystal as well as other people to come back to his house to continue to party. His home was located in Lower Merion Township in the 1300 block of Beaubarn Drive, one of the city's affluent mainline suburbs. They headed to Green's house around 3 a.m. on August 23rd. One sad thing to note is that her 12-year-old daughter texted her around this time telling Toni she couldn't sleep. At 2:57 a.m., Toni responded telling her daughter to get to sleep and that she would be home soon. Yeah. Her phone has not been used since then and was turned off around 4 a.m. At Green's house, Toni and Crystal began drinking along with other guests. It's reported that it was more of a small gathering than a party. The group was playing the board game Taboo, and Toni supposedly made a remark to Crystal that Green took as an ethnic slur, although it was apparently not intended that way. Green made Toni aware he was offended. Toni had already been feeling like other guests were ridiculing her at this point, so she started to become angry and erratic. At 5 a.m., she reportedly dumped a bottle of champagne on the kitchen floor and began kicking things. Crystal was, I guess, out in the swimming pool at this point, so Green went out and told her that her and Toni needed to leave. They gathered their things, and Crystal attempted to take the car keys because she had less to drink than Toni, but Toni immediately took them back. She was still angry and crying and also accused Crystal of making fun of her. The girls got in Toni's car, and Toni had reportedly been awake for 36 hours at this point. So Crystal asked her if she should really be driving in her condition and with a recent DUI. So Toni got mad and yelled at her to get the fuck out of my car, which Crystal did. Toni drove off and has never been seen or heard from since. So, a lot of
car
tension.
has never been found.
No.
It's a body of water. She drove into a body of water.
I know. That's what it seems like. Crystal assumed Toni would calm down and come back and get her after a few minutes, but she never did. She called Toni, but it went to voicemail because her phone was already off at this point. Crystal was too embarrassed to walk back to the house, so she called her nephew to come pick her up. Later that day on the 23rd, Crystal called Toni's sister Candy to complain that Toni had abandoned her the night before, and she would stop by to drop off Toni's belongings that she had left at Crystal's house. Candy told her Toni never came home that morning, so Candy filed a missing persons report. Crystal mentioned that Toni's vehicle was low on gas and suggested Toni may have run out and broke down somewhere. Toni's friends and family made and distributed flyers that morning. The Lower Merion Township Police put out bulletins for her car. The police theorized that Toni could have driven down like a boat ramp by mistake and ended up in the nearby Schuylkill River while intoxicated and sleep deprived. A Texas firm hired to search the river using sonar found 12 vehicles, 9 of which had been reported stolen. Yeah.
Jesus.
9 of those 12 were reported stolen, and there were 3 that were untraceable because the VIN numbers had been removed, but none of them were Toni's Grand Prix. On September 8th, 2009, 2 weeks after Toni disappeared, an automated license plate reader in Camden, New Jersey, which is just across the Delaware River from Philadelphia, recorded a hit on Toni's license plate number. The Camden police did not notify Lower Merion police until a few days later, and they were unfortunately unable to locate her car by that point. So I'm not sure why they didn't report it right away, unless they didn't know it was a missing person's car. I'm not sure.
That's what I'm guessing. Maybe they didn't upload like her car information into like any kind of database for somebody to realize that they should be looking out for the vehicle.
In late October 2009, police records show they worked their last lead, although the case remains open. In October of 2009, Toni's mom, Donna Knable, hired Eileen Law, a private investigator with an agency in Kennett Square, to help find Toni. She took the case pro bono with only a fee of $1 in order to make it legal. That dollar bill still remains on her desk, and photographs of Toni are on her office wall to this day. So she took this case very seriously. Law set up a website and hotline number for Toni's case. Many tips were called in with reported sightings of Toni and or her vehicle all over the Philadelphia area and from Lancaster to Kennett Square. One woman who worked night shift security in Conshohocken said she saw an apparently abandoned black sedan in Camden beneath an overpass after crossing the Benjamin Franklin Bridge while driving home one night at 1 a.m. She said she notified police, but they have no record of this call. So not sure if that's a true story or not.
Yeah.
This made Law believe that Toni's disappearance may have some connection to Camden. Donna Knable, Toni's mom, told Lancaster newspaper that her daughter, who had a poor sense of direction even under ideal conditions, may have headed for the nearby Schuylkill Expressway, part of Interstate 76, to return home. However, the nearest exit to where she was Hollow Road, which only allows eastbound entry, not westbound, which Toni would have wanted in order to return home. So going eastbound on I-76 would have taken Toni back towards Philadelphia and Camden. Going back to her not having much gas, she didn't use her ATM card that night, so she might not have had money to refuel and possibly been taken by someone who stopped to help her. Or maybe someone offered to give her a ride to a gas station to get a portable tank and then drive her back to her car, and maybe they kidnapped her then or something.
I mean, I think that theory definitely has some weight to it in the sense that it was reported that her car was crossing the New Jersey interstate,
Right. Yeah, there's proof that someone drove her car over there, so.
And if her car made it that far, that car was gassed up somewhere, or they got gas and put gas in it from a gas tank,
Yeah.
So that it's not on camera anywhere, I guess.
Yeah. But then a gas station would probably have cameras, but then we wouldn't know who actually it was that stopped. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Law also believes that Toni is still alive and could have been forced into prostitution against her will. Based on tips she got of different sightings, Law theorized that Toni was being moved around. In 2010, when the producers of the Investigation Discovery Channel series Disappeared went to Philadelphia, they did an episode on Toni, which aired in 2011. Law's efforts to find Sharpless have taken her as far as Philadelphia to New Jersey's Pine Barrens, which I looked up. It's a unique and vast ecosystem in southern New Jersey characterized by sandy, acidic soils. So it's just like a vast wasteland in a way, nothing's out there. So she even went that far to search for her. In December 2012, an anonymous handwritten letter was sent to Law stating that near the end of September of 2009, they were hired by a friend, the writer was hired by a friend to take the Pontiac from Brooklawn, New Jersey, to a chop shop in Boston in exchange for $5,000 cash. The writer explained they needed the money, so they took the job and delivered the Grand Prix to Boston the next day. Before handing the car over, they searched the car's glove box and apparently found Toni's cell phone. They also claimed to have taken the license plates back home. This friend was friends with a Camden police officer who apparently got into a fight with a girl. She died, and he needed to get the car out of Jersey. The letter was postmarked November 29, 2012 in Trenton, New Jersey. There were accurate details like Toni's cell phone number and the last 5 digits of her car's VIN number included in the letter, 2 things that were not made public. The writer says they forgot about the license plates until their child found them in a box while playing in their garage. Police dismissed the letter as a hoax, but Law believed it was plausible. I mean, and if they have information that wasn't made public, that I feel like it is something that should be considered and looked into.
How do you forget license plates that you just put in your garage from a car that you took to a job shop?
Right. I don't know. That was probably just some story he told.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that story's true. It's hard to say.
It is hard to say because, like you said, there was some information that wasn't made public. So.
Mm-hmm. Toni's parents have been skeptical of Crystal and question if the last text Toni sent was actually from her. They theorize something could have happened at the party, but police have cleared Crystal of any involvement. Phone records confirm both her attempt to call Toni around the time that Toni drove off and her call to her nephew. She also passed a lie detector test. Green has also been cleared, the basketball player. Police described him as more than willing to cooperate. At the time of her disappearance, Toni was 5'5", weighing about 135 pounds. She is a white female with blue eyes and brown hair, but her hair was dyed red when she went missing. She has a rose tattoo on her left calf muscle. She was wearing a turquoise shirt, black tights, black sandals, and turquoise earrings the night she went missing. If you have any further information, please contact the West Brandywine Police Department at 610-380-8201.
That's sad. It's been
It is.
16 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, I think a body of water is still plausible because, I mean, they did search the Schuylkill River, but the Delaware River separates Philly from Camden. I don't know if they've done any searches in the Delaware. Now, that is a huge river, but...
Yeah. I don't know. Because there's that one part where there's that information that was not made public.
Right.
So it makes me question that. But I also deep down feel like if she was drunk on, mixing alcohol with her medication and was obviously seemed to be a little belligerent, that maybe unfortunate event of just driving the wrong direction and getting into the river or something is, I think, very plausible.
Yeah, for sure. And then even, but also like someone stopping to help her on the side of the road because she ran out of gas is plausible. But then what happened to her vehicle? Where did that go?
Yeah. Yep. The vehicle. Where is the vehicle?
Yeah, where's the vehicle? That would give us so many answers.
Yes.
So hopefully one day we can share an update on this case.
Hopefully. I mean, it's been 16 years. We just keep bringing some information out there about cases like this. You never know. You really don't.
Jog someone's memory. You got to keep things relevant.
And we are probably hitting lots of people in Pennsylvania since your little butt is still there. So
yeah.
All right. So my next case, gotta adjust. Oh, I forget what we said the name was. Sarna. Melngailis, I think is what we said. Okay. Sarna Melngailis was born September 10th, 1972 in Newton, Massachusetts. John Melngailis, her father was from Latvia and worked as a physicist at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Her mother was a professional chef, and that is where she developed her interest in food in her early years. Because her parents did eventually divorce when she was around 9 years old then. Sarna graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 1994 with 2 degrees in economics. She moved to New York City to work at an investment firm, Bear Stearns, for 2 years. Her next place to call home was in Boston, working for a private investment firm. And she worked there until 1998 when she moved back to New York City to work for a huge bank. But that was short-lived. She found her true passion was in food. She enrolled in New York's French Culinary Institute and graduated in 1999. Her boyfriend, Matthew Kenny, who was a chef, author, and public speaker, helped her open Commissary in 2001 after they had met while he was writing his cookbook.
That's cool.
Unfortunately, it did close down in 2003 when she tried for a Jeffrey Chardot's China grill management position, and that business relationship seemed to work out for just a little while, but in June of 2004, Sarna, Jeffrey, and Matthew ended up opening a new business called Pure Food and Wine in New York City's first upscale raw vegan restaurant.
Oh, that's cool.
This was way ahead of their time, and
Yeah.
people were very interested in checking out this new restaurant. All of the employees enjoyed working for Sarna, saying that they enjoyed the environment. The restaurant was located in Manhattan's Gramercy Park neighborhood, and it was doing very well for a long time. The restaurant was featured twice in New York Magazine's Top 100 Restaurants, and for 5 years in a row, it was featured in Forbes Magazine All-Star New York Eateries article.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was doing really good for a raw vegan restaurant. I mean, because that's such a niche thing to get people in the door, but
Yeah.
they were, yeah. Sarna believed that her boyfriend was not properly balancing the books for the restaurant. Matthew was getting a reputation for also not paying the investors and being late on bills. Jeffrey, who was impressed by Sarna's economic background, decided to write Kenny out of the restaurant operations and signed over his $2.1 million share of his restaurant to Sarna. After Kenny and Sarna broke up, she met a man named Shane Fox online. He was a very mysterious man who kept up the story that he was with the Black Ops and he did a lot of secret government jobs that he kept from Sarna.
That
Sarna was
good.
a very giving person. No.
That like nothing
But
like
Sarna
good
was
ever
a very
comes
giving.
from a job.
No, secrets, like, come on. We can't start off a relationship like that.
Yeah.
Sarna was trying, she was a very giving person, and she would help the homeless as much as she could. And when somebody would ask her for money, Sarna would give it. So anytime that Shane asked for it, she ended up giving him a lot of money.
Had they ever met in person?
Sarna
at this
found.
point?
Yeah, they had at this point, yes.
Okay.
He came to her New York apartment.
Okay.
And
I hope she's not just giving this man on the internet that she's dating money.
No, she did meet him, at least. Sarna found out after Shane had called her, and the caller ID said Anthony Stranges, that Shane was not his real name. After Googling his name, she found his mugshot and arrest record, but he won her over with lots of money promises and even offered to pay off the $2.1 million debt from the restaurant for her.
Oh, man.
Her accountant said it would be easier if they were married to settle that kind of debt, so they ended up marrying in December of 2012. Sarna almost seemed embarrassed about the rushed marriage because she didn't share this information with anyone until after the fact. She still at this point had no idea that what Anthony did for a job, but he traveled a lot. Anthony began being more hands-on in the restaurant, and that is when employees became more uncomfortable with the way that Anthony tried running things when Sarna wasn't around. And at this point, Anthony is also still asking for large sums of money from Sarna that she kept giving him.
Oh no.
Anthony had set up this fantasy that honestly did not make any sense. His reality was very twisted. And in the Netflix documentary Bad Vegan, they go over the text between Anthony and Sarna, talking about her entering her next life by changing forms and entering her role as queen. He kept up this illusion that all of the debt and the money wasn't reality and that she needed to listen to him.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And how did she even have large sums of money to give him if they're in so much debt?
She was taking it literally from the restaurant. Like, as the restaurant's bringing in money, she's taking that money. Because you'll see later, she can't even pay her employees.
Well, this is such a stressful situation.
Yes. Anthony enjoyed frequenting bars a few times a week and bragged about his success, and he also dressed like a successful man with nice watches and all the flashy things. But Anthony would talk about needing to collect souls to appease his demons, where when his beliefs were challenged, Anthony would become erratic and confrontational. Sarna began an internal battle with herself, deciding if Anthony was just a con artist and that she was being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
By the end, Sarna had sent Anthony $1.7 million.
Oh my god.
She later found out Anthony also had a gambling problem that ran in his family. Another thing we learned about Anthony is that he had an entire ex-wife and child that he had abandoned in Tampa, Florida. Pure Food and Wine also had a side store called Lucky Duck Juice and Takeaway, which was an online store that sold snacks and other natural products from the Pure Food and Wine restaurant. The website sold things like supplements, books, apparel, home products, and even skincare. All these products were organic raw ingredients. And a second location of the Lucky Duck was opened in New York City's Chelsea Market from 2009 to 2015. And a third location was opened in 2014 in San Antonio, Texas, and that was open for 2 years. So there's a decent amount of business happening for Sarna. Like, there's money coming in. They're successful.
Yeah. And she's expanding.
Yep. But after meeting Anthony, that all changed in July of 2014. Sarna was unable to pay a month's worth of wages to all of her staff at both locations due to Anthony and his lies.
Jeez.
Sarna wired the employee wages to Anthony, and apparently the employees were eventually paid from a loan Sarna got, and they continued working for her until January of 2015. When again, the incident happened that she could not pay her employees, and they walked out on Sarna due to being a month behind on their wages.
Can't blame them.
No, I can't either. They gave her a second shot.
Yeah.
Sarna started letting go any employees that questioned what was going on. Sarna stated that the reason that these wages were unpaid were due to cost of expensive ingredients and high debt she had, but the employees at the time knew of the employees at the time of the incident were kind of aware of what was going on between Sarna and Anthony. Even though I think she was really trying to be private about everything, but like, he was now kind of being more hands-on in the restaurant. So she did try and open both businesses again in April of that year after she raised $850,000 to back pay rent for the restaurants and back pay the employees. But again, the staff went unpaid and they closed the doors in July, permanently shutting down both businesses.
It's sad.
Yeah.
She had so much going for her, and this guy ruined all of it.
Yeah. Yep. This stupid idiot.
But she also kind of let him.
She did. She did
Like,
let
why are
him.
you giving this man money? Cut him off. Say no. Kick
I
him out.
I know. You have to watch the documentary because
Yeah, I'll have to.
her perspective is a little out there in my opinion, but that's my opinion. Um, but yeah, she really, if you watch the documentary, she really does not take much responsibility for what she did.
Mm.
Um, so,
Okay.
and the reason that these businesses had to close was not because they weren't making the money, because they were. It was because Anthony was swindling all of the money out of Sarna. He had total mental control over her at this point. She tried to push back and he would continue to manipulate her. And again, the documentary shows a lot of the audio recording phone calls and messages that show how horrible Anthony did talk to her and controlled her.
Mm-hmm.
Previous employees protested, some asking for just what they were owed, and some were calling her out on falling for Anthony's scam. So this is obviously illegal, that they didn't pay the taxes, they didn't pay the
Right.
people that worked for them. Anthony convinced Sarna they needed to leave, so they went on the run. So he actually convinced her to run from the law.
Oh, no.
They changed their names and tried to keep a low profile by moving around. They stayed for months in Las Vegas, of course, because of the casinos. Sarna and Anthony didn't share a room because the physical attraction was not there anymore. They were strictly, I don't know, a business relationship now.
Yeah.
They were on the run for a total of 10 months. They made their way to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, with pretty much no money and nowhere else to go. But Sarna was still just missing at this point because no legal action had been taken yet until investors who were looking for their money got the authorities involved. So after 10 months, they finally issued a warrant for her arrest and Anthony's arrest. Local police were alerted to a purchase using Sarna's credit card for pizza and wings from Domino's. On May 12th, 2016, Sarna and her husband Anthony Stingus were in Sevierville, Tennessee, at the Fairfield Hotel when they were arrested. Sarna gave the police her fake name of Emma, but they saw her tattoo on her arm and confirmed her identity. After 10 days, Sarna was flown with Anthony to New York. Sarna was able to contact her mom and found out she had given Anthony around $400,000 herself.
Jeez.
After a week in jail, Sarna's dad posted her $300,000 bail. Anthony remained locked up because no one posted his bail.
Good.
They were both they were both facing a maximum of 15 years in federal prison. Anthony's ex-wife wrote a letter because she was taken advantage of by Anthony as well to help Sarna's defense. The news unfortunately latched so hard onto the Domino's pizza thing because she was a vegan and saying that she was eating Domino's pizza. But, like, who cares? That was not the point of this whole story, but this is what the
Right,
news, if
yeah.
you look up, yeah, that's what the news latched onto so much.
And for all we know, with how controlling he is, he could have ate all that food and gave her
Well, it
none.
was his. In the documentary, she says, like, I didn't eat, it was pizza and wings. She's like, I didn't eat that, I just got it for him. But, like, who cares if she did, you know? Anthony spent a year in jail before trial, which ended up being almost all of his time served. There were a lot of crimes he got away with because Sarna and Anthony technically were married, so any money Sarna gave him was legally given.
Oh, no. There has to
Sarna
be
just
some sort of loophole there.
no, I mean it's marriage. I mean, what's mine is yours, honey, unless we're getting divorced.
Yeah.
And at least in the eyes of the law, that's what it is. Sarna decided not to press any charges against Anthony herself. She spent 3.5 months in jail for her crimes against her previous employees. After totaling everything lost between investors, money borrowed, taxes unpaid, etc., the total came to $6 million.
It's crazy.
And that is how much Sarna unfortunately lost out on just because of one guy.
Yeah, that's crazy. That makes me want to vomit.
Yeah, it was $6 million.
I can't imagine.
No, I can't fathom that amount of money.
No, that's crazy.
So yeah, check out that documentary.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Yeah, it definitely gives, like it comes off differently than me in the podcast because you're going to get the text messages and the phone
Yeah.
conversations, and they're actually, it's mainly interviewing her, so
Oh, okay.
you get her perspective. It's quite interesting.
And if you're watching the YouTube video, I can also throughout the episode maybe include pictures of some of it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. My next case is Ray Gricar, who was a lawyer who served as the district attorney of Center County, Pennsylvania from 1985 until 2005 when he mysteriously disappeared. Ray Frank Gricar was born on October 9, 1945 in Cleveland, Ohio. He attended high school at the Gilmore Academy, which is a prestigious Catholic school in Gates Mills, and enrolled at the University of Dayton, UD, where he became interested in studying law after working as an intern for the prosecutor's office. He then moved back to Cleveland to receive his Juris Doctor degree from Case Western Reserve University School of Law. He began his career as a prosecutor for Cuyahoga County, Ohio, where he specialized in cases of rape and murder. He moved to State College, Pennsylvania around 1980, where he briefly worked as an assistant district attorney before being elected district attorney of Center County, Pennsylvania in 1985. He was re-elected 4 times before announcing that he would not run for re-election in the 2005 campaign. He was known to those around him as a meticulous, by-the-book prosecutor. He was the most serious prosecutor I've ever met, remembered Bob Buhner, Ray's friend and former Montour County District Attorney. He was the most serious guy, the most ethical guy. So something interesting I came across was in 1998, Gricar declined to press charges against longtime Penn State assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky following allegations of child sexual abuse. And I did not know that there was suspicions all the way back then in the 90s.
I don't actually know much about that case, I'll admit, because I'm just terrible at following things like that. But I would like to research more. Not that I want.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in finding out more about that case as well, especially now that you're bringing up something that could possibly have a little tie-in.
Right, yeah, maybe we should share that case.
Maybe.
But just like a little summary, if you don't know the story, Jerry Sandusky was convicted of 45 child sex charges in 2012 after a lengthy investigation. Police do not believe this had anything to do with his disappearance years later. So it's weird he wouldn't press charges against Sandusky if he's so by the book.
Yeah, but I feel like he knew there was probably something bigger there.
Maybe
Sandusky's is more dangerous than we thought.
Yeah, unless there's some payoff involved, I don't know. But if he's such a good lawyer, like they say, and does things by the book, you would think why wouldn't he have pressed charges? I don't know. There's a lot of fishy things that happened in that world. So
I think money talks.
Everyone's corrupt. Money talks a lot, yeah. Gricar met his first wife, Barbara Gray, during his undergraduate study at UD. She moved to Cleveland with him after graduation, and they married in 1969. They adopted a baby girl named Laura in 1978, but Ray and Barbara divorced in 1991. He married again in 1996, but divorced that wife in 2001. In 2003, Gricar moved in with his longtime girlfriend Patty Fornicola, an employee of the Centre County District Attorney's Office. He was living with Fornicola in her childhood home in Bellefonte at the time of his disappearance. They were planning how they were going to spend his upcoming retirement. Patty said, "We were going to drive across the country, take our time, visit the national parks, and end up on the West Coast visiting his daughter." On April 15, 2005, Ray took a half day at work and left at 11 a.m. He called Patty at 11:30, and she recalled, he said, "I love you," and I said, "I love you too," and we terminated the phone call. He said he was driving northeast on Route 192 towards Lewisburg. He drove a red and white 2004 Mini Cooper. Gricar wasn't home when she got home from work, but she wasn't worried and went to the gym. When there was still no sign of him when she returned from the gym, she called his cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. After 3 hours of unreturned calls, she called 911. This was very unusual behavior for him, so the police responded pretty quickly. The next day, the police launched an aerial search for his distinctive car in case he had gotten into an accident. The vehicle was eventually discovered in Lewisburg, parked near the Street of Shops, which is an antique mall. Several witnesses reported seeing Ray at the antique mall that day with an unknown dark-haired woman, but authorities were never able to identify her and found no evidence that Ray was having an affair. There were no signs of foul play, but cigarette ashes were found inside the vehicle. Investigators said Gricar disliked cigarette smoke, so it's not likely he would allow someone to smoke in his car. His phone was locked inside the vehicle, and a water bottle was also found with his DNA on the bottle, indicating that he drank from it. His county-issued laptop computer and sunglasses were missing, but the laptop's case and power sources were left behind. The Mini Cooper's keys were also missing and have never been found. Another strange fact is that Ray's brother Roy Gricar also disappeared under similar circumstances in Dayton, Ohio in May of 1996. He told his wife he was going out to buy mulch but never returned. His body was later found in the Great Miami River. The drowning was ruled a suicide. Ray's car was found abandoned under eerily similar circumstances to his brother Roy's death 9 years earlier. Roy Gricar had left his car parked near a park by a bridge going over the Great Miami River in Dayton, Ohio. Ray also left his car near a bridge overlooking a river. Ray has never been found, though, whereas Roy was. Authorities looked into the possibility of him taking his own life, like his brother Roy, but he has no documented history of depression, and there was no evidence to support suicide. There were possible sightings of Gricar reported in Wilkes-Barre on April 18, 2005, and in several other states across the country in the months after he went missing, but none of these have been confirmed. Investigators do not believe his disappearance had anything to do with his job. Despite being involved in some high-profile cases, authorities said no threats had been made against him. They also examined the district attorney's office. Sorry, I lost my place. They also examined the district attorney's office's financial accounts after Ray vanished, but found no discrepancies in any of them. In July 2005, his laptop was found by fishermen in the Susquehanna River, several hundred yards from where his car had been found. They discovered that the hard drive had been removed before the computer was thrown in the water, and the computer had been in the river for a long time, possibly since the time he vanished. His family said he did not normally take his laptop with him on trips, so it's not really sure why he had that with him. In October 2005, the computer hard drive was found on the banks of the Susquehanna River, but it was so badly damaged that investigators were unable to obtain any information from it. It was later discovered that before his disappearance, someone had done searches on his home computer for how to wreck a hard drive and water damage to a notebook computer.
Yeah. And why else are you looking that stuff up?
Right. So
I've never once thought of Googling that about my computer.
right, I know, right? Like, it's like, what's going on here? Like, was this planned?
Oh, but no evidence of suicide?
None. No, we don't have a body. So
Huh?
authorities considered the possibility that he left on his own to start a new life, but there has been no activity on his cell phone, email, bank accounts, or credit cards since his disappearance, and FBI financial investigators found no evidence that Ray had moved any money around to help him establish a new life. There is also the possibility of foul play due to the damaged hard drive, but who? It was also suggested that Gricar's disappearance might be linked to the unsolved death of Jonathan Luna, who we covered in an earlier episode. He was an assistant U.S. attorney from Baltimore who was found dead in a Lancaster County creek in December of 2003. Gricar had recently been involved in a police operation to bust a heroin dealing ring like Luna was, but no connection has been found.
We will link that episode somewhere so you can go check out our Luna. What's his name?
Jonathan Luna.
Yeah, see, I'm so terrible with names, guys. I'm so serious. It is like disability of how bad I have a name. Go check out that episode.
Yes, check out the mysterious death of Jonathan Luna. And I still have not heard any updates, like we mentioned in that case.
Yeah.
About the district attorney, they were looking for an update back in March. I still haven't heard anything.
No, they're dragging their feet. They don't give a shit.
Ray Gricar was legally declared dead in July of 2011. Anyone with information about his disappearance is asked to call the state police at 814-696-6100 or PSP Tips at 1-800-4-PA-TIPS, which is 8477. So, what are your thoughts?
I think this man had a guilty conscience. I think he did some bad stuff, and I think he needed to get rid of the evidence, and I think he thought to himself, the only option was to kill. I think he killed himself.
It's possible. It's just weird timing. He was about to retire, planning his retirement, and then this happens.
Yeah, but guilt will eat you alive.
It will. But also,
I bet he had all intentions to retire and still go through with all of those plans. However, then he just, it just ate him up inside as a human of whatever he did. I mean, being involved with, look, again, can't remember his name. What's his name?
Jonathan Luna.
No,
Jerry Sandusky.
Yeah, Sandusky. Like, being involved with that. Yeah, obviously, I think did some bad stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely possible. I mean, I think foul play could also be a possibility because of the line of work he's in. He could have easily angered somebody or had information on someone that they didn't want getting out, and so they took him out. But it's like he left work early. He had these weird searches on his computer.
That's
so it also does seem like he's involved in his own disappearance.
Yes, I think he planned it. Like, I feel like it was planned secretly, to himself.
But at the same time, you think he would know better than to have those searches on his computer.
Well, maybe
if he was planning to disappear, he would know, or should know better that police are going to search your home computer. Why wouldn't you destroy that hard drive and just the laptops?
Because maybe he didn't think about that. Maybe he was just so worried about the laptops and what dirty information we could find on his laptop. It didn't matter that we found the other searches.
Yeah, maybe.
Why would it matter if we found... I don't think he cared whether we would have found out the evidence, whatever was left behind, I don't think he cared if people found out if he killed himself. I think he cared that people would find out whatever he did.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I really do. Because I feel like that's I don't know. That's how a guilty person would handle that kind of situation. I feel like
Yeah.
Somebody who's guilty and feels bad about it, though. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like not psychopath. I'm not talking.
Yeah. And there's like so much corruption in that world that like I don't know if there is a single good
And let's be real
person.
here, Philly is a little on the rough side. So I feel like the probability of him being involved with some people who may be angry or be involved in some sketchy stuff
Mhm.
is probably a very high possibility
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Because I was kind of the
so
same with Jonathan Luna. Like,
yeah,
he was killed for a reason, you know? But he did not kill
yeah.
himself, let me tell you.
No, that one
Someone
he didn't
took
kill
him
himself.
out for
There's
no reason
absolutely no freaking
to
way.
hide
Yeah,
something.
this one, though, this one, I don't know if let me tell you, if he did not kill himself, I think whoever was staging it and making it did a really good job making
Yeah,
it to me seem like a suicide. And that, I mean, best way to get away with murder, I guess, is get the police to write it off as a suicide. So
right. Which happens so much. Um,
yeah, this
and
is
it's
actually
just,
one of the cases they didn't write it off as one.
right, I know. The one where it actually seems plausible.
Yeah, they didn't. They
No,
didn't capitalize on
no.
that one, but you know.
So yeah, let us know your thoughts on this one because also it's just so weird, eerie that his brother's death was so similar. Their cars were both left near a park, near above a bridge, and there's just a lot of
Yeah,
weird stuff with this one.
yeah, for sure. All right, I am covering the next case of Brenda Ann Spencer, who was born August 3rd, 1962, in San Diego, California. Her parents were Dorothy, Nadine, and Edward Spencer. She had two older siblings. Her parents divorced when she was about 10 years old. After the separation, Brenda went to live in poverty with her father, who was also an alcoholic. And Brenda claimed he sexually abused her and neglected her.
Oh, that's awful.
She attended Patrick Henry High School. Students claimed she would talk about killing police or being happy if there were news reports of of police fatalities.
Oh.
She described herself as radical. In 1978, Brenda was caught breaking into Grover Cleveland Elementary School, which she lived directly across the street from. She was put on probation and attended a school for troubled children and was also put into therapy.
Sounds like she needed it.
Yes. In December 1978, her therapist recommended Brenda be committed to a mental health facility because she was suicidal. Her father unfortunately refused and instead bought her a Ruger 10-22 semi-automatic 22 caliber rifle with a
Excuse me?
scope. Yes.
So your daughter's suicidal. Instead
So you
of
buy
getting
her,
her help, you were going to give her a gun
yep, a
that she could
semi-automatic
possibly
rifle.
use
Yep.
on herself.
Yep. With a scope and 500 rounds of ammunition.
And how old is she at this time?
So at this time, 62, we're in 78, so she is 16.
What 16-year-old needs 500 rounds of ammunition?
500 rounds of ammunition, yes. Yep.
My God. Great pink.
After her, yeah, that's you know, back then and suicidal, I get it. The 500 rounds of ammunition. Nowadays, 500 rounds doesn't take you as far as you think. After her arrest, she was later quoted saying, "I asked for a radio and got a rifle. He bought the rifle so I would kill myself."
I asked for a
Yeah.
radio and got a rifle. Like, what?
Yep, that's what this dad
Where's
did.
the disconnect here? Like, who? I think her father was
Yep.
also mentally ill.
I think she's right. I mean, if he's buying her that, but like, if he wanted her to kill herself, why is he wasting money on 500 rounds of ammunition? But I mean, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that that's a little excessive if he really did buy her that to kill herself.
And like,
You know,
what? That's just like, what? Like, that's I don't even have the word.
it's like, I don't
You know
know,
your daughter's
wanting
suicidal, and you're just gonna help her do it. Like, what is wrong with you?
yeah, he sounds like a piece of shit.
Yeah, she should have used it on him. Oops, did I say that?
Who said that? So it was a typical morning on Monday, January 29th, 1979, for students crowded outside of the front gates of Grover Cleveland Elementary School. They waited for the school principal, 53-year-old Burton Ragg, to open the gate to start the day. Lurking in the shadows of her home across the street, Brenda armed herself with her semi-automatic .22 and began firing at the crowd of staff and students.
Oh, God.
The first student shot was 9-year-old Cam Miller, who was shot because he was wearing blue, and that was Brenda's favorite color. While staff tried to get kids to safety, Principal Ragg and custodian Mike Suture were both shot and killed. Police arrived and moved a garbage truck in front of the school to block Brenda's view. She ended up firing 36 shots, injuring 8 students. One officer, named Robert Robb, he was shot in the neck, and the 2 staff members I mentioned were the only fatalities. Brenda locked herself in her home for several hours. While inside, she took a phone call from a local news station called the Evening Tribune. The quote from this interview is what Brenda becomes known for. When asked why she shot the children, she said, "I don't like Mondays. This livened up the day."
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yep. She went back and forth with negotiators until she surrendered when officers offered her a meal from Burger King.
That's it?
That was it.
Burger
Burger King. I know, right?
Not even like, I don't know, Texas Roadhouse or
Right? Give me some buns. Give me
like
some rolls, baby.
Burger
Cheddar
King?
Bay biscuits?
Yeah.
Like Caesar salad? Hell yeah. She was 16 years old and 5'2" at the time. She pleaded guilty as an adult on 2 counts of murder and assault with a deadly weapon. On April 4th, 1980, the day after she turned 18, she was sentenced to 25 years to life. They did dismiss the 9 counts of attempted murder. While under evaluation, she was discovered to have epilepsy and a temporal lobe injury from a bike accident when she was younger. She became eligible to appeal for parole in 1993. At her first hearing, she lied about being on drugs and alcohol at the time of the shooting, but they did test when they took her into custody, and they were negative for both. Her next hearing was in 2001, where she said about the abuse at her home, but there were some people that doubted her claims. A reported incident happened when Brenda's girlfriend was released from jail, Brenda cut the words "unforgiven" and "alone" into her skin. The district attorney wrote that Brenda was showing psychotic behavior and was unfit for release in 2009, when she was denied again and was told that there will be no re-looks into her case for at least the next 10 years. They kept that promise when in August 2022, she was denied again for being unfit to be released. In February of 2025, she was denied once more, and the next hearing isn't until 2028.
Wow.
Brenda has become known as the first modern-day school shooter. This was the earliest recording elementary school shooting in the United States. A lot of people believe that this was the turning point for American school shootings. The Grover Cleveland Elementary closed in 1983. Now a plaque and a flagpole in memory were placed there. And when the building had changed multiple times to different things the building was used for, the memorial remained until the building was demolished in 2018, but the flagpole and the plaque are located on the corners of Altoona Avenue and Lake Angela Drive in San Diego, California. Oh, that is our first modern-day school shooting, and it was a female.
Yeah,
so,
and a teenager.
A teenager, 16, yeah.
And this was so preventable. Like, I don't know if her, like, psychiatrist or whatever could push for her to, like, they could have committed her. Like, they could have 302'd her.
You think at 16 without the parents' permission?
At 16, no, probably not.
No, not at 16.
So it's just like, if her father would have, like, taken their recommendation, like, this could have been prevented.
And also maybe not bought her 500 rounds of ammunition.
That too. But she definitely needed, like, mental help.
Yes, for sure. She needed, and unfortunately, it just sounds like she didn't have the parents to do anything to help her. They did not care.
Yeah, they didn't care.
So, it's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Make like a shadow and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast.
Check us out on TikTok at
Lurking in the Shadows Pod.
Any case suggestions, questions, or concerns, send us a Gmail at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast at gmail.com. And keep looking around for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.